yeah. We should
Check him
be
at YouTube.
we should
Oh,
be
shit. Oh,
live,
look at that.
live and
Oh, I
rolling.
like the Daddio tour booking now. I hope we only end up getting like 5 shows, or maybe like 2. And we've had so much like, not shameless plugs, because like
We gotta let the
having
we gotta let
that
the homies
picture
know,
on the,
you know?
yeah,
If we
that
don't tell the
makes me,
homies, how will they know?
yeah. The Daddios try to help a new Daddio decide if they can keep
Yeah, I'm coming
doing
in
comedy.
locked and loaded with a topic.
Also, probably some other bullshit. All right, I'm down. You tell me when the theme song is ready to kickity cat cat cat.
Oh, I think it is. I think it's always ready. In its heart.
Pick up the phone today and dial 1-800-DADDY-O and hear what Glenn and Ricky have to say. When I'm lonely or feeling low, I got a number, I'll call the show. 1-800-DADDY-O. Hey, pick up the phone today and dial 1-800-DADDY-O and hear what Glenn and Ricky have to say.
1-800-DADDY-O. Okay. Some notes out of the gate. One, not enough numbers. We need another one in there.
No, just to be clear, you cannot call that number and nothing will happen.
Right, because you got to press one more number.
Yeah, then nothing. I mean, so choose, and you might get it right. It's kind of like,
Ooh,
okay, if you figure out what that last
chances.
number is, maybe you'll get Ricky and Glenn on the line.
Also, I think the style of song predates 800 numbers.
No, I think it was. I think with a rotary phone and like the big plastic, like where you got to hold it like this, and you got to use 2 hands. I'm pretty sure that's when 800 numbers.
I mean, the song sounded a little more like Pennsylvania 65000 telephone number era rather than 800s, which
I wonder if that was curated by the person who wrote it. If that was on purpose. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure 1-800 numbers have been around since smoke signals.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. If my history, look, one of us used to do
there's got to be
like
Wikipedia,
a 99, and this isn't that.
Right. There's got to be a 99% invisible episode about 800 numbers that I've probably listened to, but
yeah.
But welcome to Daddio. I am Glenn Tickle. I'm here with my friend Ricky Glore.
With my friend Glenn Tickle.
Yeah, baby.
We are here. And you said before we started, or I don't know if I never know what the tag is at the beginning of the episode, because I can't hear anything from your end
because
except
it's
for
so
your words.
It's just like any relationship, you got to keep it fresh. You got to surprise each other. You come in with a new theme song, I write some dumb bullshit on the live stream. It's all about working together.
So you have a hot topic about comedy that you are coming in with, and I'm it's not going to be us crapping on corporate shows, because I do feel like we have done that like 3 out of the 10 episodes. Is this episode 11?
Yeah.
Oh,
we are. I forget the exact stat. Something like 4% of podcasts don't make it past episode 10, and here we are in the top 4%, baby.
Damn!
It is amazing what 2 guys with a lot of free time and access to recording equipment can achieve.
I will. Here it is a term, and I already know how you feel about the gentleman. But I like it, and it may just be splitting hairs. It might not matter at all, and it may be representative of the comment itself. Enough preamble. Bill Maher said he does not care for the phrase white privilege.
Oh, obviously. Really? Bill Maher has a dumb, bad opinion? That's... Hang on, I gotta
But
call
here-
AP real quick. Get this one on the wire.
You got to call 1-800-DADDIO.
1-800 Bill Maher sucks. Always has, always will.
Too many numbers. So he does not like the phrase white privilege. He likes the phrase white advantage.
Ugh.
I agree. And I know that's also not that I have a big stance. I don't have like a pre oh, and you know what, I'm glad someone finally said. I don't have any of that.
This
that's
reeks
not my
of
mentality.
guy trying to sell a book, you know?
Yes.
Oh, let me take a
It
thing we're all
sounds-
talking about. I'm gonna change it a little bit so I can like slap a trademark on it. Eat farts, Bill Maher.
To be
and
like-
to a lesser
be like,
extent,
oh.
since you agree with them, you can eat farts as well.
But I mean,
Not as many.
I just like the idea of white advantage because we all have that white advantage, but is advantage just the same as privilege?
Yeah, it's a
I don't know.
cinnamon,
Again, that's
baby.
where I'm saying it is,
That's how
right?
words
It's
work.
cinnamon. It's cinnamon toast crunch.
It is cinnamon toast crunch. The most
I
advantageous
just thought of that.
cereal.
And it's a non-topic topic because it is a synonym, because it is just the same thing. But when I heard it, I was like, yeah, I like the less, because it makes me feel more comfortable, and that's what matters.
Right. It makes you, a white man, feel better. That's all that matters.
Attacky.
I think it sucks.
It makes me feel less attacky.
I mean, look, my gut reaction is to hate it because Bill Maher said it. Not gonna lie, I'll be
Sure.
upfront about that. My initial reaction is, well, that he's dumb, so this has to be dumb too. But I do think it's dumb. I think saying advantage over privilege gives it an inherent quality that it's like, well, yeah, I have advantages because I'm white, which means I'm better, rather than privilege, which is like granted to you by society, which is, I think, the case. I don't have an advantage as a white guy innately because I'm a white guy. I have advantages as a white guy because society was built around giving me advantages.
Which is a privilege.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, yeah.
But also,
All right.
can't stress this part
I
enough.
think what
Bill Maher sucks.
what we're finding out, though, is I could be easily swayed
Yeah.
by
guess.
someone if they sound like their convictions are strong enough and I'm not feeling attacked. And it's another white guy over a certain age that sounds halfway intelligent, I can be brought on board with that.
You just
thought
need
process.
a smug face and a dream, baby. That's all you need to get on board.
I need a cult leader. I have realized, though, I am looking more and more like Chris Gethard each day.
A bit.
Yeah.
The little,
I don't know.
top wisp of hair is a Gethard-esque,
Just
I would say.
The little Charlie Brown, the glasses. I don't wear my glasses on stage, though.
I do, or I wouldn't be able
don't
to
think
see.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing up a comedian I don't actively hate. I feel like that most of the comics that we talk about are like, ugh, that guy. Ugh.
I wanted to be more positive. I
Chris Gethard, love your work,
after bringing up Bill Maher, and I knew the Bill Maher pothole that we would be stepping in with
You
that.
knew what you were doing, you dirty bird.
I knew what
Trying
I was
to get
doing,
a rise
and
out
I
of
was
me
pretty
at
sure.
9 a.m. We gotta get Glenn. How do I get Glenn fired up early in the show? I know. I'll bring up.
How do I get him fuego?
Oh, I'm so fuego. I'm like
Fuego.
cinnamon toast crunch. Do you remember the spicy
Fuego.
cinnamon toast crunch that they came out with?
No,
They
is that a
made-
real thing?
Yeah, they
A
made spicy
spicier?
cinnamon toast crunch, and it was pretty universally reviled.
for your breakfast cereal.
You know how when you're eating breakfast, you're eating your breakfast cereal.
First
and you're
thing in the morning,
Man, what
yeah.
if this was too spicy? Like I didn't get my hands on it. It was like a limited release, but all the reviews were like, "No, this is uncomfortably hot." It wasn't like, "Ooh, we'll add a little spice, make it fun." They're like level 4 of that the bald chicken wing show, the bald man chicken wing show.
The other guy
hot
I'm
ones.
turning into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was apparently like a mid tier hot one sauce. So everyone's like, this is a little too
is
hot.
gross.
We don't like this.
Why are we eating this in the breakfast? So, connecting with that of anybody that doesn't want to eat something hot for breakfast, a friend of mine whose father-in-law or
real quick,
stepfather-in-law.
you can finish, but just real quick, you know what's hot that you can eat for breakfast?
He's nuts.
I was gonna say farts to echo back to Bill Maher and you eating farts together. Have you
privileged?
I've heard Wendy's has like been slipping off in quality lately, but I don't eat there a lot because I'm a vegetarian. But
Spicy nugs.
I'll get breakfast there sometimes because I like the potato wedges. Okay. Do you like Wendy's? Wendy's nuts drag across your face.
Wendy's nuts drag across your face. Gosh. Text, no bueno. Saying out loud, good. I'm trying to infuse as many singular Spanish words that I can.
Just show the multicultural aspect of Ricky Glore.
Of Daddio. Just so it feels topical too with all the deportations and the sadness.
Yeah, isn't it cool that our job is to do comedy and the world keeps getting worse? That's been great.
That will segue to another thing, but I think this itself is a joke that I don't want to lose because it connects with spicy breakfast and awful people. Friend of mine's stepfather-in-law is always just bringing up political things. As you know, people who are extreme on one way or the other, that is their mode of conversation all the time. Like, you see them, and apropos of nothing, they just shout out, like, I'm tired of furries being in the bathroom, or what, just fucking something stupid, crazy.
Common problem across this
just
great
angry.
land.
Oh, there was a rumor and a theory that it got to my wife a couple years ago that at one of the local schools, they opened up a separate bathroom that had litter boxes for kids that like to dress up.
That was a prevalent theory for idiots. That's a thing that dumb, stupid idiots believed because they're
and I said that's and my wife is like
idiots who don't understand how reality is.
A couple teachers and a nurse at school said it's true that it's happening at that school 10 miles away. And I'm like, yeah. This is a Richard Gere gerbil
My
story.
girlfriend
like, this is...
told me about it. You don't know her. She goes to a different school. She's in Canada, but like
she's hot.
She's so hot.
But, like,
it's so real. It's definitely
I don't date uggos.
Yeah.
Like, she's really hot. Like, she's too hot, and that's why she lives in Canada. Because if she were in the U.S., she'd be.
They stopped her at the border. They wouldn't let her in because they said it would tank the economy.
Too hot.
How hot she is.
Import export. Like if she came down here, we'd have to give our hottest, and we don't have anything that compares. So that's. I mean, look, there was a big.
Yeah, that was a big dumb rumor that idiots believed. Sorry for throwing your wife under the bus.
My friend's stepfather-in-law. He's one of those people that has to say hot takes and get in your face and be all charged up about something that's usually, it's not cool. Fun to hear and not be a son-in-law. He came, they were together for a breakfast, and the father-in-law said, breakfast tacos are woke.
Okay. So be it.
And I was like, okay. Was there anything else?
God, imagine being so dumb you get mad at breakfast tacos. Like, how do you not?
Well, but just like
they're so good. How do you get mad at that and not realize that you're the bad guy? You know, how do you not do the Mitchell and Webb "Are we the baddies" thing the moment you look at a breakfast taco and think, no?
How do you have such a hot take? Like, there is some thinly veiled racism in most of those hot takes or things that are said like that, right? It's either misogyny, racism, an ism of some sort that you are declaring without saying it. It's thinly veiled. How can you not recognize that you're being racist when you're saying that? Because you're basically saying eggs are American, but if you mix salsa with that, and it's Mexican.
I mean, I have no relation to this man, so I'll say it. It's because he's dumb. You know, nobody's uncle is going to get mad at me for saying. Or I mean, they might, but I don't care about them. So he's a dumb idiot who doesn't understand anything. He doesn't like breakfast tacos or Mexican people.
It's that mindset.
So, I don't know.
At the world
hit him with a bus.
The world's. We're getting negative. again. That's what's fun is being negative, being positive. Fuck that. Do you think if we recorded this later in the day, we'd be more positive?
No, absolutely.
Okay,
not. I would be more awake.
Cynical.
I would look, if anybody's watching on the live stream, I would look less like I was crying 4 seconds before we started recording, which I promise I wasn't. I would be up front if I was. But when I got on the call, I was like, I got bloodshot eyes. I'm haggard. I called you haggard one week on the show. This is the week where I am haggard.
You're haggard? You look like you're dealing with some allergies.
I mean, my allergies is bad, but it's too cold for that to be the problem. Unless I'm allergic to something else now, which who knows? My body is constantly finding new ways to try to destroy me.
The breakfast tacos being woke, I think there is a joke there.
That guy who said it is a joke. Ding dong.
Yes.
Eat a taco, you
here is a joke.
Idiot.
Eat a breakfast taco.
Choke
Eat a breakfast burrito.
Shove a breakfast
supersize
burrito
that
all the way
taco.
up your butt, idiot. And a real one, like a San Francisco style one with French fries in it. Get it all the way in there.
Yeah, the ones that are just really
Real
jammed,
girthy.
like with stuff.
Yeah,
Loaded potato,
like a
breakfast taco
small
kind of
baby.
thing.
Get that in there, you stupid.
But just eat a
racist.
small baby.
No, this isn't for eating.
So
This is for his butt.
I wrote a joke last night because I was told while picking my kids up. So I think breakfast tacos, I think there's a joke somewhere. I might just bring it up on stage and see where it goes. But the other one that made me question if I'm a piece of shit is...
Are you?
I was picking up my...
You should have. If you are, you should have said something way sooner.
Again, I can be swayed. I think I can learn
monster?
better.
Do I have to talk you down from being a secret monster?
Well, you tell me. You tell me if this is a POS approach joke, bad boy of comedy joke.
Ooh,
that definitely would not fit me. Is the sitter that my boys go to? She said that Gus, one of my two boys, between Gus and Paul, the twins, loves playing with this Barbie that she has that has a prosthetic leg, which I have zero qualms about a boy playing with Barbies.
Is the joke that all of Barbie's limbs are prosthetic?
Yes.
On account of her being a doll?
Yes. But then that made me, I felt bad. Because I said it 100% in the moment. Yeah. I was just like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "Aren't all her legs prosthetic?"
You don't have.
And then she looked
real
at me.
Meat Barbie. Ew.
And but what made me reflect though is you sometimes don't need to say things that you think out loud, even if they're funny and you're trying to test it in real time. Mm-hmm. I don't have any knowledge of our babysitter having a relative or anybody. Like, the reason why Barbies do those things is to have representation and to normalize different things in the world. There is Down syndrome Barbie. There is a hearing loss Barbie. There's every Barbie. You can think of it. Barbie can do it. Barbie can be it. Barbie is us. We are Barbie. But so when thinking of that joke, I'm like, well, that's a funny joke. That's a funny observation. That might work. But then I was reflecting on it, and I'm like, well, am I a white middle-aged, cis white male piece of shit, bad boy of comedy, to tell that joke? Because basically what I'm saying is it's stupid that they make Barbies that have prosthetic legs. What do you think?
I looked it up. I'm looking at the doll right now. I don't think it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the point... Because I came to the same conclusion when you said it. They're like, right. Well, I mean, all of them.
Because you think I'm gonna lead you to, I'm gonna say something about boys playing with Barbies or dolls or whatever, and da da da. And what I get hung up on is you just described this Barbie as having a prosthetic.
I think if the joke is about how dumb you think it is, then yeah, that sucks. But if it is like, well, yeah, but if you think about it, all of her limbs are prosthetic. She's made out of plastic. It's all Like there's a
But is
tone
that
that
not
you can
the same
strike.
thing?
It's not the same thing.
Privilege, and advantage.
Please let me
Let
me,
not
a
the
slightly
same
older
thing?
white man, tell you what is and isn't acceptable.
Please, again, I am. Lead me, cult of Glenn.
I think there's a tone that can be struck where this doesn't come across as shitty.
Okay.
I think if the point of the joke is like, why do they make this dumb doll for idiot babies who need prosthetic legs? Yo, stop wasting my kid's time. That sucks. But the point that a doll who is herself made out of, essentially the same material as prosthetics, be like, oh, well, she needs a prosthetic leg.
Yeah, like where are all your meat Barbies? Yeah, like when you said meat Barbie, like I think that was funny. It made me also think of just like
I said it. Made me feel.
I mean, I think there's something there to be weird. That's like a much farther down the road line tag, like kind of when it's when the joke's.
What if they made a Barbie with a real human leg?
With one? Whose leg is this? Whose leg is this?
It is just a regular sized Barbie with one leg pulled off, just packaged with one severed human leg.
One normal of age severed human leg.
Yeah, like an adult sized leg, so that it's not real sad.
Well, like I used to. I mean, I think we all did, regardless of how sociopathic or serial killers some of us might be that are listening to Daddio, streaming wherever you listen to your podcasts. I used to take off limbs from figures when playing. Like if they popped off, great.
I would do it, but in service of seeing how they worked, or what if He-Man had Donatello legs,
Yes. So I don't know if there's something more with that of being like G.I. Joes. If something's going to have a prosthetic leg, maybe it should be the G.I. Joe that's coming home. Or is that, again, are you going into a land where it's like, yeah.
Again, I don't think like shitty. I just think like, I mean, you're going to bump people out if that's the take.
Like he comes home and he's got a prosthetic leg and he's busted wheel in his wheelchair. And
if you compare it to Lieutenant Dan, you lose points immediately. Immediate disqualification
for hacky low hangers.
Yeah, only because it's like I've heard so many Lieutenant Dan references in open mic jokes about disabled people. But I mean, your point of like, they have all these different Barbies to like normalize stuff. It's like, well, yeah, but like it's not just for like I'm looking at Barbie Fashionista 121. She's the one with the prosthetic leg. I don't think the point of this doll is, well, wouldn't it be nice if a little girl had a prosthetic leg and she could see it? But it's like, I don't know, it's so that everyone can see that there's people in the world with prosthetic legs. My daughter has American Girl dolls, and she had a gift card left over from Christmas, and she used it to buy them a wheelchair. And I asked, how come? And she said, well, one of them got hurt. And I was like, oh, okay. And she's like, but now they kind of like riding around in it. And it's like, all right.
Anna loves Band-Aids. And so we told her American Girl, because they're stickers.
Basically,
they're soft stickers. And so Anna wanted an American Girl doll, not this past year, but the year before. And my wife had one, and we're like, she has too many dolls and blah, blah, blah. And so Nana got her whatever Target's version of American Girl is.
Our generation doll.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it's that.
I think she has two of those. She's got, I think the only actual American Girl doll she has, my sister's from when she was a little girl. Gave her that.
They're passed down. They're expensive. Yeah. American Girl dolls. It's a racket. But so our generation is what she has, and she has the one that has crutches. Mm-hmm. She now has a food truck, but she also has a wheelchair, and she has Band-Aids. Like she looks like Left Eye from TLC. Like there's a Band-Aid just like right there. I agree with everything you're saying. But when I heard the information presented to me breakfast tacos, I was like, oh, breakfast tacos being woke. I'm like, damn. I was like, I think that's a bit. Just, as a comedian, sometimes when something hits your ears, and we can be wrong,
Yeah.
but it's like, oh, that is mine to put over here in this box because I think I can mine that for something later. And when the Barbie prosthetic leg comment happened, again, it's like a spidey sense where it's just like, I know exactly how to articulate this right now. And the question is, aren't all Barbie's legs prosthetic?
Yeah.
And I think it might just be that. I don't know if
I mean, like I said, I came to that same conclusion.
Yes.
I don't think...
And you also have that spidey sense.
I don't think trying to make the point itself is shitty. But I do think if the joke becomes, what a dumb, stupid doll, then I'm no longer on board. But even like the taco thing, I mean, I basically did my take of like, how do you hate breakfast tacos and think you're the good guy? They're a perfect food. Like
that's funny. That's an interesting take.
They're so delicious.
Because I think that's not what's talked about a lot. What you just brought up.
How dumb this guy is? Right. We should all talk about it more. I hate that guy. Tell him. Can you get a hold of this guy and just let him know that me, a comedian he's never heard of, is quite disappointed in his opinions?
Who's the guy that you always yell out at the end of the show?
Oh, Dan Huff.
Dan Huff. I knew it was Dan, but I couldn't think of the last name.
Yeah.
He's your new Dan Huff. I know the thought that those people think they're the good guys.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, is there any representation in pop culture where a character thinks they're the good guy, but is 100% the villain?
I mean, I think most villains think that they're doing the right thing, except for like cartoon. Like Skeletor doesn't think, "Oh, I'm saving Eternia." He's thinking, "I'm an evil skeleton man. I gotta kill He-Man." There's not like depth to that. And if you're a He-Man super fan, you read all the comics, I don't need to hear Skeletor's backstory. I'm talking about the 80s cartoon purely. But like Bond villains are like, oh, well, I need to do this terrible thing, but like it's to remake the world. It'll be better for everyone, except for whoever gets murdered. But I'm trying to
Disney
think.
Villains typically are like, and I'm bad, and this is why it's the childhood I had. Like it's always like, I'm doing this because I'm sorry.
I'm so uninterested.
Society made me this way.
In villain redemption tales. I know Wicked's big right now. I could care less. I don't need it.
I do think what's funny about Wicked though is it's going back and being like, yeah, but it's the
but she's bad for reasons. I don't care what the reasons are. She's a bad guy. She tried to kill a dog. I'm glad water got dumped on you, you green monster.
It's all a big misunderstanding, and it's these other people are actually cursed.
This is not.
And they're the Tin Man, and they're.
I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday about it, and I think it's something like The Trial of the Big Bad Wolf, the real story of the Big Bad Wolf, some children's book. My second grade teacher read it, and it is about like the Big Bad Wolf is on trial for the events of the Three Little Pigs, and it's like, oh, well, like he was just doing this. I flipped out. I got sent to the principal's office because I could not handle it. I'm like, we don't need to be defending the Big Bad Wolf. It's in his name. He sucks.
Yeah.
Oh, but what if he was just trying to? I don't care. He blew down a house. That's a crime.
So it's time, right? It's time. If as a majority, enough time passes, we can be like, see, everything those people I mean, there's enough people in the time, right? We're hearing this guy say breakfast tacos, and we're just like, you think you're the good guy. But will there be a collective, like McCarthyism, right? There's plenty of people during McCarthyism that are just like, we're the good guys. We're the good guys. We're turning over all these commies.
He's like, oh, I'm helping. You're not. You're just being an old, dumb piece of shit. He's dead now, right? If he's not, I sure hope he does soon.
There's a book, because I'm big into the Red Scare.
Just in case anybody's got to take a
anybody
leak.
Want to pee on it?
Yeah, anybody got to do a pee-pee? Look up where McCarthy's grave is and just whiz on
His
that.
his daughter wrote a
Sorry about my
defensive book.
daddy. Is that the
No,
title?
she wrote a defensive book
Ugh.
of being like, here's how he was part of this machine and was actually doing good and blah blah blah, and he gets shit on by history and it's wrong. But I read it just to read like the other, and I don't read, but I'm big into
But you love
the Red
Joseph
Scare,
McCarthy.
and I love House Un-American.
I love
That
House.
fascinates me. I love that time of history. I love that. I'm a big Chaplin fan and the history of him and what he did for film. But I also love that one of the people who was the biggest proponent of getting Chaplin excommunicated out of the country was a journalist for I don't know what newspaper or rag in New York, was Ed Sullivan. Ed Sullivan was like on the
Distant
forefront
relative,
of writing
Ed Sullivan.
of the Ed Sullivan Show.
I know.
It's
And also
okay.
of being my grandma's second cousin, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
You are related to Ed Sullivan?
Yeah. That's why
You're related
I am
to
so
the garbage man that tried
cool.
to get rid of Chaplin?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
you can go back and just read
more
that
of a Buster Keaton
propaganda.
fan,
And
if I'm
it's
being honest, you know?
really
Yeah, well, because he's better.
hard.
Uh,
Find me one Buster Keaton that is as emotionally wrecking.
Oh, I don't
Yes.
care. I don't have those, so I'm just going with what's funniest.
You don't have
Buster,
emotions?
It's Buster Keaton all the way. Oh, this
Okay.
one's got jokes, but it'll also make you real sad. I don't need that. I want to watch a building almost fall on a guy, you know? That's what I'm coming to silent films for. Or hey, get Harold Lloyd in there. Hang on to that clock, buddy. Don't fall down.
I think I would be more on board for a Harold. I don't think either of them take the mantle from Chaplin. And again, just his brain all the way around in every facet. But a Harold Lloyd for comedic performance, I think may beat Buster Keaton for me.
It's a bold take. I mean,
I
you've
got a
been
big
wrong.
fan. I'm
You've
a big
been
fan of
wrong
Stan
before.
Laurel, too.
You'll be wrong
Oh.
again.
Welcome back to two old white guys talking about a bunch of old dead white guys.
Look, the Keaton Chaplin thing has been going on forever. Harold Lloyd, I do think, doesn't get the recognition he deserves. But
So you can be swayed for that.
No, Harold Lloyd will be an also ran forever. You know, yeah. There's more pathos in Chaplin movies, but the Keaton ones are funnier. Like it's what he pulls off in just terms of like early stunt performance. Like it is so impressive. I was thinking about the other day when I was watching Eraserhead and being real sad at a screening. Is pre-digital, it used to be just the achievement of getting an image on film itself pretty impressive. Like the Blank Check episode about Jaws, they were talking about like it is so hard just to record filmed images on open water because everything's like the fact that they got anything usable is impressive. The fact that it was also like incredible performances, that's why Jaws is so good. But it's like, well, yeah, now I can just point my phone at just about anything and get a pretty good looking image. So the fact that like stuff looks good now itself isn't as impressive. So you do kind of have to rely on story and kind of, you know, grandeur where it is do you know the great film X versus Sever? You know, your favorite movie that everyone knows and loves. That came out when I was in film school, and we're all like, this looks so dumb. But then we all heard it's like, well, all the effects are practical. And it was like, ooh, okay. Like, and so we went, a bunch of us went to see it in the theater, and we're like, yeah, oh, this movie is dumb. I don't remember a single thing that happens in it. I can't recount the plot, but it's like, yeah, but like, they flipped that car over for real, A-Team style, baby. Like they did that.
What was the real title of that movie? Because that's the X versus Sever is the subtitle. Is it Ballistic?
Ballistic X versus it's Ballistic X versus Sever. Well,
why do I know that?
You know how
why
everyone's
do I
like,
know
man,
that information?
We all know X.
I knew a movie based off your subtitle.
We all know X. We all know Sever. What if they fought?
Ballistic.
Another thing that I hate, unrelated to what I've been talking about, is I don't like it when titles are just a person's name, unless that person is a real human from history.
Yeah,
you know,
Ray Charles.
Yeah, but when it's like, I know people love the movie Michael Clayton. I've never seen it because the title Michael Clayton is like, I don't know who that is. I've never heard of that dude. I don't know. And people are like, oh, Sidney Lumet's great in it. Okay, whatever. I don't know.
You could also just call the movie Sidney Lumet. It gets the same effect.
Call the movie anything that gets me interested. Just there's a TV show now, Will Trent, that I keep seeing ads for. And it's like, I don't know that man. I don't need to see what he's been getting up to vis-a-vis solving crimes or whatever.
But if his name was Heat Vision and Jack,
well, that kicks ass. Like that paints a picture, you know?
Well, I think the other names do as well.
Will Trent,
like, you could tell me
that paints a picture of
no, don't tell me anything about the show.
I don't know anything about the show. I've just seen the same commercial.
Show's called Will Trent. I'm gonna guess that's a CBS show, and he's a private investigator or a lawyer.
Two of the least interesting professions.
I know, but you tell me Michael Clayton.
I think Michael Clayton's a lawyer, or he works for a law firm. I don't know. I know people love the movie. I'm sure it's great. My point is, it's a dumb name.
I get that from the title.
Call it tense crime.
What about here's one that I think fits a little bit more. Honora. Could be a French film. Could be, that tells you, like, Michael Clayton tells you something. Honora being the story, being a prostitute who connects up with a Russian mafia guy and they fall in love and blah, blah. Like, yes, the name Honora does nothing.
I mean, it's an unusual name. I've not seen the movie. I know the basic plot. It is better than like Michael Clayton, Will Trent, just boring ass white guy names of like, these tell me nothing. Honora, it's like, ooh, we're going first name only. All right, it's like Ninochka, the Greta Garbo movie I talked about a couple weeks ago, and I sent you the clip where it's like, the Ninochka is not a name we throw around a lot in New Jersey. So like, there's a movie about a woman named Ninochka. Is it a name? Are you sure? And it's like, it doesn't tell you a lot, but there's a level of intrigue there that like Doug Smith the movie just doesn't provide.
But this is all personal. I mean, obviously it's all personal opinion and bias, but I think it's personal bias of the name being more interesting is what makes you more interested and allured towards that movie, like Honora. But Michael Clayton, I do get what it is. It's gonna be a white dude that is a professional. He's a businessman, and that's part of it.
A lot of guys in suits, you know?
I immediately picture that. But so I think you're right. I think they both do what they want to do. It's an interesting name when it's Honora. But you are just like, I don't care what your boring white dude movie is because it's named Will or TV show named Will Trent.
And again,
but like,
people love Michael
Magnum
Clayton.
PI.
I'm sure.
Rockford Files. Like
his name is not Rockford Files. You know that, right? Right? You're aware.
What?
Mr.
He's
Files,
Rockford
please.
File?
There's been a crime. We need.
I thought it was about a guy who was. He's a Rockford File.
Please, Mr. Files was my dad. Call me Rockford.
Like a cinephile. Like he's a Rockford File. Like
no, that's
loves
you.
Rockfords.
That's you, apparently.
Oh,
you're the Rockford File.
Magnum pies, like really big pies.
But again, not his name.
Yeah, Magnum Pie. That's his name, right?
We know he's a private investigator because we know that's what a PI is. Magnum's a cool sounding word, right? That's
I thought it was about I thought it was about like a bakery that made really big pies.
The biggest,
was-
girthiest pies around that are actually they're the same size as regular pies, but the branding helps sell them.
We'll close this tab because I want to hear what you were coming in hot with. As a
We'll
topic.
get to the topic.
But
45 minutes.
So do you think 30 years from now we will look back on right now as like McCarthy era? All those people will be like, ugh, you all.
Oh no,
like,
we're
we
in
can all
40s Germany.
easily
Man.
say.
We're way worse off than McCarthy. I would love McCarthy era right now.
But I'm saying though, okay, but will we?
We're
look
rounding
back?
people up and putting them in camps. Like to long for the bygone days of McCarthyism.
I'm saying though, okay, so is this dark time? Will we come out of it and everyone will be like, that was wrong, you are dumb? Or do you think this is the beginning of normalcy?
No, I think it's gonna be bad for a while. But the thing about fascism is it doesn't last. It doesn't stick around. It gets a good couple of years in of being real shitty for everybody, and then you know, somebody ends up in a bunker with a pistol, and then it all turns around. But it's you know, it's a slow process. So I don't know. Get out there and do crimes, everyone. Break laws, cause problems. Yeah, that's before I incriminate myself.
I mean,
further.
that's all. It's I just wanna sit in that darkness for a little bit.
Where I
But
order our
what
audience
was
to commit crime.
what was the hot juicy story or topic that you're coming in with today?
Yeah. So
It involved comedy.
You know Reddit, right? It's a website that people use on the internet. So I
will click it occasionally on some things here and there, but it's never. I don't ever go to Reddit and like TikTok. I'm not spending a lot of time on Reddit. If something is a link to something, I'll go check it out and be like, oh, it's on Reddit. But I don't ever fall into like a Reddit hole like I think a lot of people.
I tell you, man, they got one of these Reddits for just about everything now. It's wild. There's a stand-up comedy subreddit that I don't look on Reddit a ton either. After the election, I took social media apps off my phone because everything was making me real sad. But I put Reddit on there so I can still like check news or whatever.
Yeah.
It seemed like a good compromise. But I've been in the stand-up Reddit for a while. But I don't look at it a lot because it is a lot of like newer comics giving each other advice that I don't necessarily always agree with, but then I'm like, well, I'm not going to jump in and argue with strangers on the internet over like how many open mics you should do in a week. Like I got, you know, coffee to roast. But one
Is your username Glenn Tickle?
It's just Glenn Tickle. I have a burner
Okay,
as well.
so also
but-
people would either know it's you and like there's a great West Wing episode about Josh Lyman posting on this website, a fan website about him, and then ends up biting him in the ass. Like I foresee that same exact thing happening to you if you were to engage. People would be like, you're not really Glenn Tickle, but then it would turn on you and other people would be like, ew, but if you are, why are you coming here like a messiah of comedy? Giving
Right.
your
Well,
hot tips.
My opinion on advice in general is don't give it unless you're asked, and that you don't have to take advice or feedback from anybody you wouldn't ask for advice or feedback. So like when strangers on the internet, if they don't like a clip and they post something negative, I'm like, well, I don't care. I wouldn't have asked you.
Yeah.
You're a stranger on the internet. I would have been like, hey man, what do you think of this? Because your opinion on it doesn't matter. And
we already know that you block those people, and you will do
immediately.
it for your friends too. You will go to
yeah, still
Yeah.
always. I was talking. I hosted the open mic again last night, and a couple of us went out for food after, and we were talking about a couple local people in the scene that I absolutely despise and always will. And one guy I've hated for so long. I'm like, I genuinely don't remember the exact reason why, but I have to trust.
That's healthy.
I have to trust
Yeah.
10 years ago me to have made this decision where it's like I will block people and then they will like reach out on something else and be like, "Why'd you block me on Threads?" It's like, "Oh, I don't remember." And they're like, "Can you unblock me?"
Yeah.
It's like, "No, I probably did it for a reason." You know, like
Yeah.
It might not be a good reason, but I'm going to stand by it. The decision stands. There's not like
Do
a
the
higher
crime,
court
do
you
the
can appeal
time.
to. You know.
Yeah.
But it's also like what I usually don't do. I don't go cross platform. You know, if I see you say a dumb thing about breakfast tacos on TikTok,
Mhm.
I'm probably
Yeah.
not going to take the time to track you down on other platforms and block you there too. I'm sure there's things that people can and have said where I've taken the time to do that, but yeah. But in r/stand-up, right before we got on this call, there was a topic that caught my little eye there, buddy.
Is it Ricky Glore and Glenn Tickle are the best stand-up comedians ever, and we should celebrate them and give them all the money?
No, it is from user Frosty Economics 2824. A title,
Awesome.
a username. I'm assuming is a burner. Because like I said, there's Glenn Tickle on Reddit, but then there's also one that like I use when I don't want people to know it's me, when I'm being a little sneaky guy.
I'm going incognito now. I just pulled my hood up.
Yeah. Well, because
we're getting
it's
into
like
the dark stuff.
I don't know. There's not that I'm particularly well known, but there have been times where I've started like interacted with people on the internet using my real name, and people are like, "Are you comedian Glenn Tickle?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
Oh,
and they're like,
I went and got my tires changed 2 years ago at a tire discounters that is literally not even a mile away. And I handed the guy my license, and he's just like, this is the only time this has ever happened. He's like, "Ricky Glore?" I was like, "Yeah." And I had lost a lot of weight. He's like, "I'm our comedian, Ricky Glore?" And I was just like, "Yeah."
guy
He's
from
like,
basically
"You
down
look a
the
lot
street, Ricky
different."
Glore?
Yeah. The guy I've been stalking and covet thy wife. And I was just like, yeah. I think if you're on the internet, look, I think having a fake here's old man piece of shit Ricky Glore talk. It should be your real name. Having like
Yeah.
a fake name or whatever nowadays, like I think there should be an age limit. I think if you're over the age of 18, you should have to use your real name for your email and for your handle.
Yeah.
Like I get it. Some of us have
on
similar names.
everything. Reddit specifically,
Yeah.
I have like the burner account because it is like, it's not. It sounds gross, I guess, but it's like, yeah, sometimes I just don't want people to know it's me. And again, not that it's because I'm such a big celebrity and everybody's going to be like,
Yeah.
"Ooh, did you see Glenn Tickle post this thing in the ankylosing spondylitis subreddit?" It's like, we just don't need to bring the fact that it's me into it. But most of the stuff I do on stand-up, it's just at Glenn Tickle, just like everywhere else. I replied to this post that it's pretty long. I don't think I'm going to read the whole thing. I'm going to recap it. But Frosty Economics 2824 titled the post,
Awesome.
"New Dad Thinking About Calling It Quits. Does this pass?" So again, to recap, you can go on r/standup if you want to read the whole thing. He's been doing comedy for 13 years. Right. So he's had some success. He's not just like an open micer. He talks about, excuse me. Again, this is why I assume it's a burner account because he's being pretty vague about, he's like,
he doesn't say his real name.
Yeah. He's like, I've opened for like some of my heroes. I've done some arenas. I've done some festivals.
Oh, damn.
So seems like, like a Daddio level comic, he's got some skin in the game.
Arenas?
Yeah. But I mean, like, I'm sure opening for somebody or like a tour or a show.
Yeah.
I'm not. It's not Bill
But
Burr.
still.
It's like Bill Burr is sliding in, being like, "Should I quit doing comedy?"
Was that your Bill Burr?
Yeah, I'm not good at impressions. All right, we're not all Ricky Glore. We're not all that guy who does impressions of celebrities at them, even though the impressions aren't really good, and then the celebrities have to like pretend that it's incredible.
I think his impressions are way better than you give him credit for. I think all impressions kind of suck.
I think it's great that he can do so many.
You're like, I'd respect you better if you could do 2.
If you could do, if you could rock 2 that were perfect, I'd be way more impressed. But again, I mean, I say that as somebody who genuinely, I can't do them. I don't think I ever will be able to. I thought I could do Kermit and the Frog, and my children have assured me I cannot. So I don't. They've broken my spirit. But Frosty Economics, he's 13 years in the game, right? He's had some success. Just had his first kid with his wife, and now he's like, should I quit doing comedy? Because he's like, I'm sleep deprived, got a new baby. But the one particular, he's like, I'm not saying I'm in it. Here we are. He's lamenting that there's no money in comedy. He's like, I'm not saying I'm in it for the money, but to be really good, you need to be out 3 times per week, minimum, doing open mics and grinding your ass off to have good shows. He's like, I've not been having great shows. I'm assuming he means lately. But then he talks about sleep deprivation. He's like, I got to take care of the kid. Like, I want to be around because they're little. So basically the question is like, do I give up? The last part I'll just read verbatim. It's Dads of the stand-up sub. Does this pass? I don't know many guys who were this late in the stand-up game who had kids. Most of the guys I know started doing stand-up after they had kids. Clearly there's a bit of a sunk cost fallacy happening here. It's tough to quit, but moving out of NYC and up to Buffalo to start a farm and live a simple life sounds better and better each day. Thank you ahead of time for roasting the shit out of me. I love you all. I already replied to this guy on Reddit with like a basic like it's not all or nothing, like you can do less comedy. The thing I disagree with the most is where he says you need to be out 3 times per week minimum doing mics and grinding your ass off. Particularly when my kids were really small, I maybe got up once a week for like years. I think pre-COVID, I think the longest I'd gone was probably 2 weeks without doing shows, and that was I think right after my brother died. But even then, like after the 2 weeks, like I have to stand in front of strangers and tell them things.
100%.
But I've always disagreed with his idea that there's like a minimum amount of comedy you have to do. My reply to the guy was like, you can take time off, do less comedy, like focus on your kids. But when my kids were born, that is when I was like, oh, okay, I have to figure out how to make this a job and not just a thing I do for fun. Because doing road shows in particular, I'm more than happy to go do a bar show or something nearby for little or no money if I'm home that night, just to have something to do. But if I'm going to be like gone for a night or two, then like you better be worth it. It's gotta be worth. I can't justify the time away from my wife and kids. Be like, oh yeah, I gotta go, do a 10-minute spot at a unpaid festival for a week somewhere. It's like, well, no, I'm. I need.
Can I be I'm going to be the surprising bad cop.
Ooh, naughty Ricky.
This good cop, bad cop situation. I think from what you read, obviously I would need to read the post in its actual natural full state. It sounds overwritten. If you're contemplating quitting, yes, please quit. There's too many comedians. There's too many people doing comedy. If you're questioning not doing it, don't do it. If your thought is so extreme that it's like, well, should I take some time off? Or it's for all the things you just said, like it's what hit my ears when he's like being out 3 times a week. I'm just like, again, he brings up, I don't know what it is about hearing what he said about like doing it for 13 years. The arenas thing really obviously stuck in my craw. Then him saying about 3 times and then being like, well, living in NYC, moving to upstate Buffalo and buying a farm. His life sounds really comfortable. And the idea of that he's questioning like, well, you know what? It's either really sticking to it and doing it hard and for the art and blah, 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 or moving upstate and becoming one of the fucking Kents and raising Clark Kent, my alien Superman baby. Like, I don't know what this guy's asking about and what his hardships are. Does he think he has to be out 3 times a week because he's in the awesome, cool New York City scene of doing The Cellar?
I think that's a big part of it. So I think it is, and again, I'm making a lot of assumptions off of one Reddit post, but it seems like he is doing a lot of like fun, cool shows and not a lot of bullshit shows like we do that actually pay money.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I mean, my advice, the reply that I wrote was basically like, yeah, when I had kids, then that's when I started like trying to get into doing colleges because I heard they paid well, or like doing corporate stuff. That's when I recorded the album and put that out and produced.
You understand growth and priorities. You had a baby, so I'm thinking you do. Your age, if you've been doing comedy for 13 years, let's say even you started when you were 18, you are right. You are a little bit older in the scene and you aren't that young kid anymore. Yeah. So your life is changing in other ways too within the 13 years you've been doing this thing.
I think he does mention being in his 30s at some point.
Yeah, of course he is. He's 35 and he has a kid and he's thinking about being older and I can't do the hang or play the politics of doing this. Shut up.
Yeah, just don't do. I mean,
should I quit doing comedy? Yes.
You're being harder on this guy than I am, but I
know, that's why I said.
I will 100% agree that like, yeah, you can just quit. Like that's a perfectly acceptable outcome, you know?
Make sure you write your press release letting us all knowing that you're quitting it's official.
Is there anything more beautiful in this world than an open micer's 8-page Facebook post about how they're retiring from comedy? He's dead now, so I don't feel that bad bringing it up. But there was a local improviser that I was friends with, and he
die?
Just from being an old dude. But
okay,
he
because otherwise,
yeah. Oh no, he was pretty. I mean, still sad, but
yeah,
he wasn't like struck by a bus. It was just
got ended himself.
Pretty old, got sick and died. The usual.
Yeah.
But I remember he made like this big pronouncement that he was retiring from improv, and I'm like,
fuck yeah,
man, you don't retire from your hobby bowling league. Like you just stop doing it. It's fine. Like absolutely, more people should retire from improv. But yeah,
which is so funny. Like to make that statement, be an improviser when your whole shtick is asking the audience for a suggestion.
Yeah,
like
give up.
I have a suggestion. Stop.
Yeah, please.
Just don't do it anymore. I need a location.
That's my suggestion, improvisers.
Yeah, go down to the what is that where you go get jobs from a person?
The
what's that
job
called?
Store? I don't know. What do you mean?
The job store. Like when you're on unemployment. Yeah,
unemployment
what's that
office?
Called? Employment office, yeah.
So you knew the word unemployment, but you couldn't think of office?
Fuck you. Took me a minute.
You should retire. You're too old.
I should.
You're too old, Glor. You gotta.
I will write
one last
my We're just gonna do one last heist in this a winery or American Legion basement.
But I mean, the advice I always give. I'm starting an intro to stand-up class again Sunday. I've done it, I don't know, a lot of times. 10? I don't know, a lot. But
you live in the Pennsylvania area. You can click the link below or call 1-800-DADDIO to sign
There's
up
still
for
time
Clint
if you want
Tickles.
to take a 6-week intro comedy class with your buddy Glenn in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. But the advice I always give newer comics, and I tell them like day one of the class, I was like, here's the free version of comedy class. Because I know there's comics who are like, oh, you teach comedy class. You can't teach somebody comedy, man. You can. It is a skill and art like any other. I can't.
Or that if you took one, there is a scarlet letter.
Yeah.
Like I took a comedy class and people are just like, of course you did.
Where'd you learn to paint? Because I took a painting class. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
But the free version, because when I started in comedy, I think that was a much bigger part of this, at least my local scene of people like really shitting on the idea of comedy classes, to the point where the first time they asked me to teach it, I was like, nah, man. But that was also
because it's gonna make you look. You're gonna
look
have
like a
the
dork.
comedy C, yeah.
But it's also like, also at the time, I feel like they asked me a little early, where it's like, why? Like I'm not anybody. Well, because if I took a comedy class.
If you work, you need money. You have small children. You shouldn't be leaving. We actually want to tell you to quit comedy, but we don't think anyone should quit. So teach this class
before kid. I think the first time they asked was pre-kid.
Wow.
But maybe not. I don't remember. A while ago, or like around that time. But when they asked, it's like, yeah, I don't know, who am I to teach? Because I won a comedy contest at a show in New York years ago, and the prize was I got to take Broadway comedy clubs like intro to stand-up class. And I was like, well, I mean, thank you, but I just won your contest. Is there like a level 2? I feel like I've got the basics. Not to be a dick, I feel like I've got the basics down.
Yeah.
And the guy teaching it, I'd never heard of. So I went in there like with kind of a chip on my shoulder of like, why am I going to listen to this guy's advice on how I should do comedy when I've never heard of him? And he's like, I've been doing comedy for 30 years. Well, then I should have heard of you by now. But he is like a guy who now is like well regarded. I'm not going to say the name because I feel like I'm kind of throwing him under the bus. But it's like, well, yeah, if you've been doing it this long,
you can have disagreements with people and say their names.
I know, but he seems nice, and I feel like I'm not being very nice to him.
Okay, this is at the beginning of your Felix and Oscar odd couple relationship.
Now, if I got to do a show with this dude, I would genuinely be thrilled. Well, because like he's a good comic. It's not that. It's just like I had the shitty young comic thing of like, oh, why am I going to listen to this guy? And the answer is because he's been doing it longer than me and has things that he can teach me about how to do it better. And I mean, over the course of the class, it's like, oh yeah, like this guy actually has good advice. He is good at comedy. He understands, just even kind of not the performance part, like, but the boring admin side of like, here's how you, string a couple shows together in a night in New York. Here's who you talk to. It's easier to get from this club to this club than this club to this club, and like stuff like that. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, this is helpful. But after a while, it's like, well, yeah, I mean, if I look around my local scene, if anyone should be teaching this class, not to be a dick, but like, if anybody should be teaching comedy in Lehigh Valley, yeah, why not me? I've been doing it longer than most of the other comics around. I have not a ton of success, but some success. It's like, yeah, I'm as good of a guy to listen to as anybody. But I still had that impulse of like, oh, comedy classes are uncool. So the free version and the advice I always give younger comics is like, just go do open mics. That's the class. Like, keep doing them. You will figure it out and you'll get better, or you'll quit. And honestly, that's fine too. We're good on comics. We don't need more. You're
on the
more
job
always
training.
welcome. I think there's room for everybody who wants to do comedy, even if you're just doing it sometimes because you think it's fun. I hate hearing comics in a scene complain about like hobbyists or like, oh, this guy just does it like he just comes out to like hang. Okay, that's a great reason. If you can't compete with the guy who just comes out once a month because he thinks it's fun to do an open mic, you need to get better, not them.
Or vice versa, the people that they complain about that they're just like, oh, they think they're better than everyone else and they're taking this too serious, so they don't come out enough. And when they do come out, blah, 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 they don't need the time because they're not a regular. They're not eating shit. Well, that's the other thing is anybody that wants to start comedy and you're like, go do open mics. And they're like, well, all I can find are these ambush shows, these bar shows. Like, I don't want to do that. It's like, okay, well then, this is one of the few times Ricky, will make this distinction. It's when it comes to a new person that wants to do comedy. You don't want to do comedy then. You want to do theater. So write a one-person show and put it in a theater where when people go to that, they know the etiquette of giving you the best circumstances for you to speak your truth and do your art. Comedy, on the other hand, part of that is it sometimes sucks. And
I mean,
that's the on-site job training is you do a bar show and you get through your 5 minutes
right.
regardless
Doing
of
the bad show
20
will make you better. It is not
better.
the goal isn't do a shitty bar show. It is have the experience of having done it, and then you will be a little better next time.
And that person who's new, and if they're just like, well, I wanna do comedy at clubs though, or I want to do it where there's lighting and there's sound and stuff. I'm like,
yeah,
yes,
get good,
again,
and then that's what
sounds
happens.
it's get good, and you have more opportunities for that to happen, or you don't want to do comedy, you want to do theater.
There's the thing of, I mean, obviously, people like to think comedy is a meritocracy. They're like, oh, the funniest people are gonna rise to the top. And it's weird that so many of the funniest people are other white dudes, but there is like the system in place of kind of weeding people out, and it is. When I started teaching the class, I kind of inherited the slides that the other guy was using, my friend Ryan Hill, and so many of them, I was like, oh, no. And I would leave his slides in, but put like a rebuttal, because he runs a comedy venue. His opinions are still worth considering.
Valid.
I think they're worth knowing as a comedian how a producer thinks. But I think if you are trying to do it on the comedy side, here's how it actually, like, here's, boots on the ground. Here's what I think. And I've talked to him about it a lot because he knows that I do this. And a lot of times he will like come and sit in a week. And I always make that the week where I include the most Ryan Hill rebuttal slides. Because it's like, oh, Ryan here's to observe the class. He says this. What a dummy. And then,
now that name, if you made that the name of a movie,
Ryan Hill, the motion
where
picture.
It's about Ryan Hill rebuttal
Hill,
slides.
X versus Sever.
That's a fantastic Ryan Hill
so many practical
rebuttal
effects.
slides. Yeah. So where does the Reddit go?
So that's it. He's asking for
advice.
Consensus? So to my point of I don't think people should give advice unless they are asked. This man is asking advice from what I feel like is us specifically. He's like, comedy dads. What do you got? So when your first kid was born, I'm assuming you didn't quit comedy only because she's 6, 7. How old's your kid?
She's gonna be turning 6 in May, and actually, so we. But
you didn't hang it
up to Chicago.
We've done shows since then.
No, but when I moved up to Chicago in 2010, I did way less stand-up. So I had been coming off of, from 2005 to 2010, I pretty steadily emceed and then sometimes featured at the Newport on the Levee Funny Bone. Did MC shows, bar shows, whatever. But the hopping in a car and driving to another state thing, really touring or traveling, didn't ever happen. I maybe some areas of different parts of Kentucky, maybe different parts of Ohio because it's close. But when I moved to Chicago in 2010, my intent was to work at Second City, which I did, do sketch and improv and be on the SNL track, because stand-up, which I enjoyed doing, wasn't my favorite form of comedy. I like collaborating and playing with others. So when I got up there, I still did some stand-up, and I know that that's also another valid track to SNL, but that wasn't the one I wanted to prioritize and do first. So up there, stand-up here and there during 2010 to 2017, but probably 35 times I did stand-up in that 7-year span, so not a lot of times, maybe 50. Again, not leaving the area. Occasionally I'd come back to Northern Kentucky or Ohio, do some stand-up when I'd be back home at some shows and whatnot, but not doing it a lot. But again, at no point did I fucking go on Facebook or MySpace or whatever and be like, hey guys, gots to take a break from the SU. Gonna be doing improv and blah, blah, blah. But when I moved back down in 2017 after I got married, when we bought a house in Northern Kentucky and we were going to look at having a family, I started doing stand up at a local brewery again, and that was actually the first time my wife saw me do stand up. She was just like, "Oh," she's like, "I didn't." She's like, "That's a artistic side of you that I was unfamiliar with." She had seen me. She had acted in plays and been directed
Mhm.
by me and different things. Had seen me do sketch and improv, but had not seen me do stand up. She's like, "Oh," she's like, "You were really good." So from 2017 to 2019, when Anna was born, I was started booking brewery shows and winery shows uh, anywhere that I could. And even while she was pregnant, one of the last shows I did uh, touring was on the Sunset Strip at El Cid in Los Angeles. Um, so at that time, Here Comes First Kid, I already booked my dry bar. I was going to be recording in September, some months after my daughter was born. So I started incorporating dad stuff already leading up to that. Um, I was getting close to meeting with you to talk about recording the album. My stand-up career or my notoriety or it being a job and actually making money from it was on the rise, was at
Yeah.
the highest apex at that point it had been. So there's no fucking way that I was like not going to be doing it anymore because a kid was coming. I just, you take some time off, you don't do as much during the week. Yeah, your priorities change, but you figure it out or you phase it out.
Mhm.
Or you do both and then it comes back. Yeah, I don't understand the pomp and circumstance of that question.
Well, I mean, I think the fact, like I said, it looks like it's a burner. I think he's trying to avoid that. If he did this on like his personal Facebook page, I do think it's like you're just looking for people to be
It
like, "Hey,
sounds a
buddy,
little
stick
bit,
with it." But
maybe I'm wrong. It sounds a little bit like bragging and trolling. But
I don't get that at all from this.
okay.
I'll send you the
That's
link
my
if you want
that's
to read the whole thing. But
yeah, I'm interested in it. So yeah, no, but what are people, have many people commented yet, or has
there
nobody
were
really?
when I looked at it right before I replied right before I came on, and there was I think a few replies. This is from 2 days ago, but I saw it like as I was getting the computer set up to do this morning.
Yeah.
One person said that their dad was never around and it was awesome. That's how comedians are made. A common thing that I've heard a lot of people say that I hate hearing every time.
You got to be a sad clown. You must
Yeah.
have sad.
It's, I mean, my boy David Lynch, like the point, you do not have to suffer for art. I'm looking. One person says that they're not a dad, but they had a dad, and not a dad who did stand up, but a dad who was overseas for weeks at a time to do some pretty non-traditional work. It says it's better for your kid if you're around.
Non-traditional work, killing people.
Yeah, that's what
was
it
he an
sounds like.
assassin?
The rest of the this is from user President Ender. I can't. It's either President Ender or President Ender. It says since you already have the skills, you can pretty readily go back to it with 8 or 10 years of fresh life experience. Some of it with that kid, and go get back to it later. Which is kind of my point of like, yeah, you can take time off. You can just do it less. That's totally fine. But their point of saying like, oh yeah, like my dad, not a comedian, but was also gone for a couple weeks sometimes for like, there's lots of jobs that involve travel and being away. I found out our one friend, he is like spending a year in Arizona setting up a new plant for the company he works for. So his wife and kids are still here, but he's going to be there for like the better part of a year. People in the military are gone for months or years at a time from their like business guys travel. Like it is just like a thing. A lot of jobs involve time away. So I don't think this problem is unique to stand up, because I don't think stand up is unique as a art form or job. I think there's like a work-life balance issue with just about any job you have. You know, you could be you know, a librarian or whatever, and still have to figure out how do I work this around the rest of my life. To use my wife's career as an example, right? Like it's the fact that I think the fact that it is a creative job, I think misleads a lot of people into thinking like it is somehow special or different. But
Well, I think this guy, and I don't know if he mentions this, but I almost take some of it as like a come to Jesus. Are you saying you should because you have reached as far as you're going in it? Like, does he mention like why he does it? Like, is he saying that he's making a bad decision if he sticks with it because he should?
So a lot of it is like he's still doing it, right? The kid's already born. The kid exists. He's been doing it, and he's like, I just don't feel like it's not hitting the same. You know, like the shows aren't going well. I'm not having good sets. He talks about how he's like, I'm not really writing what I think is good material. I'm just kind of going through the motions.
Yeah, so if you're done with it, yeah, I don't know. I don't know why it is. I just hear this and I'm just like, like just stop.
I mean,
And
I've said the same thing like at the local open mic. I have like from the stage yelled at other comics who come up and they're like, why am I doing this? Like, what do we want to talk about? Why am I here? Then stay home. You know,
Then
like
don't.
No
Then
one's
don't.
making you come here. Look, if half the comics showed up and we all got to leave at 8 instead of 9, great. But
Again, so what is this dude saying? He's like, oh man, I just feel like it's not right and stuff, but like people want me. People want my comedy. Like even so should I like what do
no,
I
I'm not
do?
getting that at all
Like,
from this. I think you're being
okay.
unnecessarily hard on Frosty Economics. I think, I mean, look,
does he feel like he cannot ask? He's been doing it for 13 years. He doesn't have a Glenn. He doesn't have somebody else that has had this similar experience or that he's sharing this with.
He's got an online community of people that he's reaching out to, and I think that's great. But it is
you got old white man cranky Ricky this morning.
Yeah.
I'm not.
You're really riding this guy's dick. I think. I think I don't know, he's just looking, you know, he's feeling it out. He's looking for some support. Because look, when you have
what if it's Mike Birbiglia? He's just like, I just feel like I've been going through the motions.
Well, I mean, it did make me think of Birbiglia because in the new one, he has that line. Yeah. He's like, I understand why dads leave.
Dads leave, yeah.
And I've never turned on someone so hard than that moment. And because like, yeah, it's not like a mystery. They leave because it's hard. Like that's but
again, I will stand by Birbiglia, and I'm not gonna say everything. My wife took me to go see Old Man in the Pool when he was touring it. Mm-hmm. She knows I like Birbiglia. Her and I have watched Birbiglia. I have never turned on him for evolving as a comic. I do like that he has talked about his influences and who he's kind of using as influence for his metamorphosis or evolution in comedy. He was Hedberg, you know, he was this, and then a little bit of Stephen Lynch, and then he evolved in the whole one-man show of it all. Any gatekeeper who's just like, well, that's one person's show, and I know what I said about theater before. But he tours, and he still does little shows to work on the material, the joke sides of whatever these big one-person Broadway shows are. And he has said he is excited to have Old Man in the Pool be published as a script so other people could perform it.
And that's
as Mike Birbiglia.
When I saw it, it seemed like that already. It seemed like, man, you've done this 10,000. It just feels like, and not even a one-man show. It feels like you're putting on a little play. Like anyone can step in and
there's more of
tell
a
this
stage.
Story. It doesn't feel. And I, you know, having done, you know, Good Grief was basically just a one-man show. It was about still doing stand-up comedy through grief more than I think it was just like regular stand up. But I don't know if you transcribed it and went and did it, it would be weird, you know? But if I did it 10,000 times to the point of like, I'm just kind of going through the motions of reciting this at people. That's what Old Man in the Pool felt to me a little bit. I'm like, if I caught this, if I heard any of these stories a year ago, if probably would have felt more alive and kind of in the moment.
Stand-up-y.
But
yeah,
the thing where it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to publish this so that other people can do it. It's like, yeah, it kind of feels like you already did. Like, it feels like,
well, so for the end
I did not feel
new
connected to Birbiglia in Old Man in the Pool the way I did in like the new one, where
you felt anybody could be performing this very interesting story and this narrative with Old Man in the Pool. I also, and I think he's going to publish the new one as well, because for all the reasons of being a dad and speaking this way, and it's this bigger story, blah blah blah. That line of "I understand why some dads leave," as much as I like him, like what he's doing, and will fully support it, that, like this dude asking this question about leaving comedy to be a dad, or focus on being a dad, that it would be wrong for him to continue when it feels like he chemically inside cannot do any better than he's done because of now this change. It feels overwritten. That line of just like, I understand now why some dads leave. It's like exactly what you said. It almost feels like he wanted to write a taboo, poignant line.
Yeah, everyone understands. Like, we all know why they do it. It's because it's hard to do. So it's easier to not do it than it is to do it. It's not.
And what's hard with that is then there's the breakdown of some stand-ups where they become preachers. And that, to me, seems like the Church of Birbiglia sitting there in the audience being like, it's not a laugh, which is fine. Not everything has to be funny.
Yeah.
But it seemed like it was purposely written so everyone would go, he's right. Yep.
He's talked about the reaction that line has gotten on his show and other interviews and stuff. So we don't have to like rehash the whole thing, but it's like, I like the new one a lot more than Old Man
I printed up a transcript that I'm going to be performing his reaction to people's reactions now. I mean, obviously it's not Birbiglia who's writing that. He has his daughter's like 8 years old, 10 years old, or whatever. But yeah, it's yelling at the moon. It's just as dumb internet, like something to put out there for a topic on the internet, just as to me as breakfast tacos. It's like, what are you asking? Like, you hear what you're saying. Like you're telling us all the clues.
I think you're missing the specific ask, which is, does this pass? He is explaining. He's like, look, I'm feeling this way.
Oh, is this feeling valid?
He's like, I'm feeling like maybe I gotta hang it up because I got a kid now. It's hard. He's like, does this feeling go? He's not asking, do I quit comedy right now? Like, yes or no.
But I don't like the. I don't.
He's saying, does this feeling go away? Like, if I ride this out and I just. But again, I think he's wrong that he's like, well, God, I got to keep doing it. Like, just do a trial separation from comedy. Maybe just don't do it.
It's either being a really cool comic in New York City or living comfortably on your Fisher Price Little People farm in upstate.
You really hate the farm thing, huh?
Because it's there for me. With like, if I'm doing like a script a text analysis, he mentions that he's awesome. I've been doing it 13 years, and I'm doing some pretty sweet shows like Arenas.
I would say he doesn't say that he's awesome, but he does. The exact wording is, I've had some awesome experiences. So yeah, but it's not like, oh, because I'm the best. Like, oh, I don't want to deprive the world of my comedy. It's like, if I was posting
pretty
this,
good at what I'm doing. Now I should feel guilty if me focus. Look, having a kid maybe made me biologically unable to be as good as I was. And so should I hang it up and then blame the kid later for
See,
putting this aside and him being the reason why I suck now?
I don't know if you had this. I mean, the timing of your story where it's like, well, yeah,
Yes,
I kind of
it's
started.
different.
I leaned heavier into stand up around the time my kid was born. I've always, I mean, not always, but for as long as I've been doing comedy, it started in 2009. I've focused on stand up. I've done some sketch. I've done some other stuff, but there's no question. Like if I had to pick one, it's, stand up forever.
You were a ride or die for stand up.
Yeah, it's. I mean,
Yeah.
I've talked about it before. I have a film background. I loved
Mhm.
doing that, and then I started doing stand up to try to do more film stuff. But immediately from doing stand up, I was like, oh, this is the good shit.
If someone for me said, if it was as nice as this, if it was red pill, blue pill, if it was like Ricky, you can have a career and take it afford the life you want with your family and provide and be all this and do these things and be there for your family and your wife. Film, be creative. So for me, it's just being creative. Film, being creative, or stand up. Both it's not a monkey's paw situation. They're both valid.
Yeah.
You're going to make money. You're going to have a career in one of these. I would pick film because of everything that it encompasses. For you, it is stand-up.
If I mean, to add a monkey paw element, if it was you can do one, but you can never do the other one again, stand up.
I would do that. I would do that with film. Yeah.
I would I've made shorts. I've made features. Sketch. Shooting sketch is essentially filmmaking. I feel like the stakes are lower. Everyone trying a little less hard than if it was like a short film. But sketch is filmmaking. But if you're like you can do one, but you can never do the other one again, I'd pick stand up. I don't think it.
Filmmaker friend Adam Marcus, who directed the likes of Jason Goes to Hell, said that he looks at short films as like a stand-up joke where there's a setup.
Yeah.
And then there's the punchline at the end. So
Yeah, I mean, I like
sketch and a
doing
short
it.
film.
I would love to do another one. I did the animated short during COVID.
Amazing.
With you and Anthony Camphor.
Apple Gravity.
Apple
Is it on
Gravity.
YouTube for
It
people
is
to
on
watch?
YouTube.
What about your skeleton stuff?
I think that's on YouTube. That's
Okay.
I don't know. I feel less good about that one.
I think it's hilarious. I would have loved to have
I
seen
still
that as
like-
a Rizzle
I
series
still
or
like
whatever.
the premise. So
Yeah.
it was another animated thing of it's a ghost and a skeleton who used to be the same guy, and I like that premise. I'm so on board with, but I don't know. I didn't have time to do the animation and stuff as well as I wanted to. Apple Gravity, the animation for that, I knew what it was because I saw
Awesome.
that.
So good.
I have it. Here it is. So I have.
I desperately want you to do more in that style.
I just have this print. This is a woodcut of a meeting of the Royal Society of London where I saw that and it's like, oh, I knew immediately how I would animate it and how I would do. It's like, I will just take this, cut the image up, make little puppets digitally, but move them around. I mean, I can draw, but I've been posting some of my drawings. And
Very
I've
in
had-
the style of Monty Python, like Flying Circus,
yes.
opening.
It's like paper doll cutouts is the style of animation, and it's like, well, I will do that. That will serve the script because I wrote the script when I did the sketch writing program at UCB in New York, and a couple times sketch comedy friends were like, oh, do you have any scripts that we're doing a show if you have anything you want to submit? And I was like, I really like this one, but if you're just standing there in jeans telling people you're Isaac Newton, it's really not going to work.
Yeah, wait. Tell the premise.
Oh,
because
so
we're just saying what it is.
if you didn't immediately pause to go watch it, it is Isaac Newton pitching his theory of gravity, but it's an early draft where he thinks it only affects apples.
So good.
And I genuinely, I like a jerk laugh at my own joke every time I watch that thing. I think it's very good, but my friends did it. They did a stage, and like, it just felt like a staged reading of just like, you guys just wearing street clothes. You're just being like, oh, I'm Isaac Newton. It just doesn't work. You either need, a set and costumes.
Full production SNL, like the Nate Bargatze, George Washington. Like, it needs to either be sold or it needs to be animated. Yeah, it needs to be sold.
SNL would do it great, but no one's ever going to spend the money for a local sketch show to pull off how I think this should look. So it's like, well, it should be animated. I had a little animation background from college, but it's like, it would take me a long time. It's a lot of work. And then 2020, and it's like, well, I got nothing else going on. I might as well finally get around to doing this thing. And
I should stick it to Isaac Newton because someone needs to.
Yeah. And it's a dumb, fun thing that I really like. There was another one I had. I wrote another sketch where it was Heisenberg and Schrodinger, where it was basically like the uncertainty principle and the cat. But it's like, I dropped the picture and it went under the thing, but I don't have like that picture to use, So it's like, well, I don't know. Doing it from scratch seems harder.
Oh, what if it's you would just have to do some Google searching where it is an old, like, I don't, not Victorian, but it's like a couple fancy men, like with a cat
you and me
on a desk in front of them.
Fancy boys.
Yes, but I'm saying like an old painting or whatever, something like that. So something like what you had for Apple Gravity, big like with a, I don't know. I can almost picture what you're thinking that you could use as them like looking on to a cat that's in front of them in a painting.
Well, I mean, like I said, I've been trying to draw more lately, and I've been posting some of the pictures, and I've had 2 separate people reach out about having me work on like an animation thing, and it's like, oh no, that's you're overestimating my abilities as an artist and animator. What I can do is I can pull up a picture of Mr. T and draw that picture, or like I can draw what I'm looking at, but the thought of like doing character design and stuff, it's not.
Or the want to work on your passion project for something that takes.
Well, that's the thing, especially with animation. It's
a ton of time.
It took a year to do a 3-minute cartoon about Isaac Newton. And a lot of it, to be fair, a lot of it was like relearning the software and the techniques and everything and figuring out how do I do this with the resources that I have. So doing another one would take less time, but it's still a lot of time. And it's like, I don't want to do that for your thing.
Now, I will, out of the skeleton and ghost, I think the guy who did the voice of the ghost was so fucking good and so diametrically different from the Seth Rogen impression that I was doing. Same as Apple Gravity, Anthony Caffer, his voice in Apple Gravity fucking slays me. And when I hear my own, I'm just like, oh, you're doing a voice, and he fucking is that voice. Like, because he is.
I was really excited when he, because I was texting him about it. And he's like, "Can I do like a Monty Python high pitch?" And I was like, "Yeah, please, please do that. That'll be perfect." And I think it is.
But what I enjoy the others, as it should be. Nobody should be like, who the best voice is in that? The one that I did. That was But what I'm going to ask is, not because of doing voices, not because I'm already a big fan of these things that you do, but can I guilt you into any animated thing that you do like that needs a voice, that I have to be something in it? Not that because I'll be the best, because I want to. Okay.
Yeah. The only, I think I did one other, I was talking about this last night too with some of the other comics. So friends of mine they have a sketch group that puts up like 2 or 3 shows a year, I think. And a while ago, and I've sent them scripts for stuff in the past. I've helped them with some of like the filmed stuff that they do. But a couple shows ago, they're like, "Hey, we're doing another one if you have any scripts." And I was like, "I have this one I really like, that I also wrote at UCB. It's called Dr. Baby. It's about a baby who was born during...
I know Dr. Baby.
Yeah, I'm like, he was born during a med school graduation and through a clerical error was given a license to practice medicine instead of a birth certificate. So the sketch is like a House-style show where House is a baby. A dumb premise, but...
It's extreme Doogie Howser / House.
Like, what if Doogie Howser was a literal baby? And a dumb premise.
Or if it was a Saturday morning cartoon version of Doogie Howser, which the premise already was a child doctor, but it was called Lil Doogie Howser. And it's like, well, he already was little.
This is like the
young
Sheldon of Doogie Howser. Like, what if we made him smaller?
Younger.
But he... so my friends were like, hey, do you have this? I'm like, I have this one.
I love that you just have a folder. It's like Batman trying to kill the rest of the superheroes. You're just like, look, I have something that no one will produce.
Well, again,
I have a folder.
Can't, man, unless we're making a baby puppet, you can't do Dr. Baby on stage, you know? Or just you have a 30-year-old being like, goo, 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 gaga, I'm a baby. It would look so dumb on stage. It's another one where it's like, you got to animate it or make an elaborate baby puppet. So I was like, I don't have a lot of time before this would need to be ready for your show. So the animation's going to look kind of rough. It'll be more animatic than like fully animated. And they're like, that's fine. They liked the script. They should. It's a good script. And Dr. Baby, I think, is also on my YouTube channel if people want to go watch it. Because I got my friends, Tawny Plattis and Michael Kent, professional voice actors, to be like, hey, guys, I'm trying to do this thing. We like, not that either of them owe me a favor, but like I did Tawny's podcast. I've done Michael's podcast a bunch. So it's like, you know, I hate asking people to work for free. So it's like, hey, like I've, you know, helped you guys out. Can you just like record these couple lines real quick? And they were both happy.
Did you write that in an email? Were you like, because I've been on each of your podcasts, I'm not saying you owe me?
I did not justify it. I was like, hey, I'm doing this dumb script. Would you mind? And they were both happy to do it. They're both tremendous. Cannot recommend them highly enough. And then I did a very crude animatic as promised, and sent it to my friends. And then they're like, I don't think we're going to use this. And I was like, I mean, okay, but I did a lot of work and called in favors from professional voice actors to make this thing for your local sketch comedy show. So again, and they're still my friends. I've worked with them since, but I will not be doing this again. You know, it's because again, like the filmmaking stuff, I filmed a sketch for them since that happened. It's playing. It's called Guiney on the Go. It's playing on a festival in Pittsburgh. They use that one because they wrote it and edited it. I was just the camera guy. But again,
they assumed
it's like,
Dr. Baby would look way better than it ended up looking.
And I mean, if you don't like it, fine. But I'm not gonna do it again. I'm not gonna. Yeah. Oh yeah, let me take a lot of time.
Go eat butt. Let me
call in favors from other people.
Yeah.
And then you'd be like, this isn't good enough. I mean, get wrecked. Like it's. Yeah. Again, I mean, I'm not. I'm mad at them isn't the right term. It is just like, okay, it's your decision to make. But then my decision is I'm not producing work for you anymore.
We're opening up the phone lines, 1-800-DADDIO. Call in and let us know if you figure out that extra number, how you vote. Watch Dr. Baby and let us know.
Look,
do you agree with the local sketch team?
It doesn't look very good.
So vote yes if you want to see Jason Todd murdered by the Joker. Vote no.
It is. I drew,
you want to
like,
see him live.
So the baby is doing surgery at one point, and it's just like a crude baby drawing covered in blood, and it's ridiculous. But again, if you're like, hey, do you want to do this? And I say yes, and then I do a bunch of work, and then you don't use that work, then the next time you're like, hey, do you want to do a bunch of work again? No, I don't. Because again, and I don't want to dunk on them too hard because they're my friends and I think they're good at what they do. I just don't. I don't need them to put my work out. You know.
If it makes you feel any better, you want to dunk on me.
Always.
My hair and look right now. My brother said that I'm rocking 1010.
You do look a little
look.
Tintin. Since you said the Chris Gethard thing, it's all I've been thinking about this whole time.
It also looks a little bit like, is that Fallout where he's like,
yeah,
or like the little
because
figure,
you got that
like,
blue Adidas tracksuit on, you're looking a little pit boy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the thing of like, yeah, I will gladly do stand-up shows with these cats. You know, if they want me to work on something where it's like, oh yeah, can you come film this for a day? Sure, I'm happy to help. I want you guys to succeed, but the level of work that I had to do for this crudely animated thing was still like a lot of work. So why would I do that again if you're just not going to use it?
Similar situation, and I don't even know this person really. It's just a weird coincidence that, and I mean, Ohio is a pretty big state, so not big coincidence there. But in Kentucky, there is a real weird surplus of specifically low to no budget horror filmmakers that are getting some kind of notoriety, like that you hear about. Like you hear about people and their projects. Typically,
Nice.
those filmmakers are doing crowdfunding where they have a lot of the same D-list actors, like say people from like Sleepaway Camp or the guy who played Dewey in Scary Movie. They have a lot of the same people who are appearing in those movies.
David Arquette.
And they're using their names. That's Scream.
Oh,
I think it's Dave Sheridan plays Doofus in Scary Movie.
Yeah.
The parody version, the Wayans brothers. So that
you did say
the level of actors.
Okay.
I said Scary Movie, but I said Dewey.
I just felt that was pretty. I'm like, that's pretty dismissive of David Arquette's work.
And I'm not dismissing
not that he's Orson Welles, but...
any of these actors, but yeah, David Arquette is not appearing in these. Even though, like, if he got to that place where he needed the money, he would definitely be folded into this group.
I mean,
he did being like, you've seen
Eight-Legged Freaks, so
a big budget movie.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
it was
not a good one.
No,
take that, Eight-Legged Freaks.
That's a completely Ready to Rumble with, was it Scott Conn?
Although I do think it's been a while. I saw it in theaters because it was out in theaters while I worked at a theater. I do think Eight-Legged Freaks did kind of lean into, it kind of did the Mars Attacks thing of like, no, we made it this way on purpose. Like, we know what this is.
Yeah. I mean, it's not Verhoeven. It's not making a commentary like Starship Troopers.
No.
But it kind of lives in that. It
was just like, man, remember weird, dumb monster movies? Let's just do one of those.
Like just nuclear, like waste monster, like, and then it mutated and it's giant thing. Any hoodles. Filmmakers in the area. Turns out there's this dude who was making a low budget horror movie in the area and sent me the script. And was like, I wanted to see if you'd be interested in playing this trucker part. And twins were coming. And so I was like, oh man, unless this is like, I was already thinking to myself, like, unless this is just like one scene, I'm probably not going to be able to do it. I'm not going to be able to for weeks on end. I just wrapped my movie. The boys were coming, or maybe had just come. I was like, probably not going to. Read the script, and the trucker was possibly a rapist, and like there's a scene where he has sex with a hooker, and I was just like, I don't think I'd be able to time commit to this, and just to be honest, like this is not a kind of role that I would be interested in. Just so if there was something else or anything down the line, if it's anywhere in this vein, don't even send it. Like, not being mean, just like,
I don't want to be a truck driver rapist.
Yeah,
pretty reasonable boundary to set.
Doing a sex scene with a hooker, and so he's like, "Yep, fine, I understand." I was like, "But hey," because they're filming at a out of business Gold Star was a chili place right across from the movie theater that I went to growing up, maybe 10 minutes from my house. That's where they were filming. And I was like, if you have anything else, like a day player or something, let me know. I'd be happy to help and support. And so I didn't realize when we do little to no budget things, it's a fucking skeleton crew. His probably close to $150,000 no budget thing had like legit people, and like they rented a space and there's a set deck and blah blah blah. And so he was like, yeah, do you want to come down and be have a couple lines as a diner patron? And I was like, yeah. So I got there. I picked out an outfit. I was like, let me know what you think he would wear. And he's like, yeah, kind of like trucker outfit, blah blah blah. I'm like, you're not trying to trick me into being that rapist trucker. And I was like, yeah. I was like, I am dumb and weird enough. I have enough costume items for things that we filmed and whatnot.
Yeah, we've seen the wigs, Ricky. You know.
I was like, there was an outfit basically how the snowman dressed in our musical production of Smokey and the Bandit up in Chicago. I grabbed that and threw that on and went there. And I sat there for. I also know everything with filmmaking, budget or no budget, is hurry up and wait.
Yeah.
I sat there for 2.5 hours before anybody came back to me. And when they had a break in the time, I went up to the assistant who had greeted me when I came in. And I just said, hey, I'm not anywhere I got to be. I want to be out by like 6. And it was like 2. And I was like, just any idea, like ETA, on when they're going to be getting to the thing that I might be part of. And she's just like, oh, well, let me ask the director. And I was like, well, don't bother him, but just if you find out, great. So then about 30 minutes pass, and the director comes up to me. He's like, oh, my God. He's like, I didn't even know you were here. We already filmed the scene that I thought you would be in. And I was just like, okay. The miscommunication, whatever. He's like, let me show you around. He showed me around. And he's like, great. He's like, so you want to like come and hang out maybe the next couple of days? And if there's something we can throw you into, we will. And I was just like, no, I will not be back. Like,
but again, I mean, I think reasonable on both sides. I think, it is a thing where it's like, look, wires got crossed. It didn't happen. They felt bad. They're like, if you want to but then like, why would you? Like,
but unless I'm being told, and I completely understand, sometimes stuff gets cut.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's one of those things where if you were like, this guy's such a dick, he made me come down here, I'd be like, well, no. I mean, film sets are complicated. There's a lot of reasons it could have happened that way. But you know that because you've done it.
And even if I filmed something and it didn't make the final cut, like for our movie Sweetmeats, there are people that paid to be killed. So there was one shot in particular where dude gets his neck slit, and I had to play with it in the editing because it just didn't look right. But I couldn't cut it because he paid to get killed, and so I had to make some editing choices that support why it's still there and how it looks and blah blah blah. But if I filmed something and it got cut, even if I was doing a favor, I wouldn't be hurt. I wouldn't care. I wouldn't get lost in my thoughts of being like, I must have sucked or blah, 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 all this. I'm just like, yep, I get it. For whatever reason, doesn't matter what it is. It got cut.
I might disagree is the thing. Like,
no, you may feel that way. I'm just saying me as knowing who I am and how I process things. But I am never going to, again, unless I know for sure and there is a schedule, go and waste 2.5 hours on someone else's thing to then have it be nothing.
Yeah.
Like there's one thing of being filmed and getting cut. There's another thing of like not wasting that time, but spending that time and then.
Well, I guess also part of it was, I mean, I was just doing a favor for my friends. So like it was not paid. It's if they're like, we will pay you to make this animation and then they decide to not use it, I could just be like, well, day's work, whatever. Where I've done like background stuff where it's like, you can't see me in just about anything I've ever done. Why am I even there? Well, because they're paying me. Like, that's why. It's the doing back and like you sit around with the other background people and they hate being called background people. But
Mhm.
I mean, it's what you are. But they'll
You're not foreground people.
I genuinely forget the preferred terminology.
Extra.
Or maybe it is background performer. Extra is what they don't like to be called. I don't remember.
Okay.
But the
Flight
extras
attendant.
will like sit around
Stewardess.
and act like this being in the background of this SVU episode is going to be their big break. And it's like it won't.
They have to. They're delusional because they think this is a stepping stone. They're like, someone's going to see me. They're going to hear me talking when we're
Have
not
we talked
filming
about
and
this
just be like, man,
on the show already? Where
I
it's
don't
like,
think so. No.
it's not going to be it pays all right. It's usually a pretty easy gig. You sit around most of the day eating snacks. Pretty good.
Yeah. You're not going to break into the business.
No one's going to
There's
be
a
like,
guy on.
who's that guy in the background? Let me get that guy.
There's a guy that's on Real Housewives of Potomac because I watch that with my wife, and it's my favorite of the Real Housewives franchises right now. And there's this woman who's getting a divorce who's dating this chotch rocket who is awful and should be broken up with immediately. And she tells all of her friends that he's an actor. And then I'm just like, oh, okay. And they're all like, well, has he done anything we know? He's like, oh, well, he just filmed an episode of whatever Butthole Hospital in Georgia. And they're like, oh, really? Like, I watch Butthole Hospital. And they bring up his IMDb, and he's Nurse 3, and he's Cop, and he's Barbie, right? He's all the jobs Barbie can do.
I mean, I just want to be clear that I'm not denigrating those actors. Like, yeah, that's a big part of an acting career is doing that stuff.
But many people do not, are like, please tell people that I am a background artiste.
Yeah.
I've
done that. Like, I know other people who've done it, and they will, like, the day they're filming, they're like, oh, I'm filming this episode of, I keep using SVU as an example because I did a couple of those. They're like, I'm filming this
Butthole Hospital.
Like, watch out for it when it comes out. No one's gonna be able to see you. No one's gonna see you. I don't tell anybody. Anytime I do any acting stuff, you will not hear about it from me.
Just to be clear, Butthole Hospital is a hospital that is dedicated to repairing and fixing.
Yeah. Oh, I would watch 12 seasons.
Done to buttholes or buttholes that are having reactions to things that are hurting themselves.
I'm on board.
Yeah.
Sold in.
It's not about like guys who are buttholes.
Yeah.
Like,
hey, baby.
Like assholes frequently coming in.
We've already picked up the show. Stop selling. I'm on board.
A bunch of Michael Claytons, a bunch of Will Trents are coming in, and they're just being like
heavily into Butthole Hospital. But
a friend of ours was on Chicago Fire. A good friend of ours in Chicago, and he was a legit. It was a legit part. The storyline is his mom has dementia, and she keeps on escaping her house and getting in the car and like getting in accidents, and she does. And the woman who is the main focus of it was the biggest or the first or something stunt woman. And all she does now are guest appearances where a character has lines, but might do like a class like B stunt. So it's like fire around it, or like has to roll out of a vehicle, like not like anything high level, but that's her thing now, is she's just riding the wave of having this notoriety of being in the stunt community.
Nice.
That she's just like, well, I can't do those things. So I want to play roles that you kind of want to have someone for a close up stunt that's not like super death defying or anything.
Something doable, but you're not gonna, have your star do it.
He's gonna be on that. Patrick is or was gonna be Patrick Tierney.
Good on you,
episode.
Patrick.
And so like he told us a little bit, and we are like, when is it? He was more telling us the story of this fascinating woman.
Yeah.
Spending all day talking to her. But we were like, when is it? He's like, it's like 2 scenes, and who knows what they'll cut it out of or whatever. We're like, but it's a real scene. It's like the real thing. Like, we want to watch it. Yeah. Anybody who's just like, yeah, you're going to catch me at Butthole Hospital tonight. And it's like, I watched all of Butthole
Yeah.
Hospital. Who were you?
Like, I can tell you the full run of shows I've been in the background of, and you could watch it frame by frame, every episode, every season. You're not going to pick me out. But I don't tell people when I do stuff like that, because it's funnier to me to think somewhere in the world, someone who knows me is going to be watching TV or a movie, and then I pop up, and it's happened, and it's great. I'm right. I laugh so hard every time. I did a local commercial where I was in a big mouse costume eating a bunch of cereal, and whenever I don't think it's currently running, but when it was, every couple months somebody'd be like, "Were you a mouse in a commercial?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Wait, how did they know it was you?
Oh, because it's just like a dumb Halloween costume. My face is fully out, but it's questionable because I'm not wearing glasses, and people don't always recognize me when I don't have them on.
And you're super cross-eyed.
Yeah. I did one commercial where a buddy of mine was working on the effects team that was like adding in the CGI zebra, and he kept sending me screenshots. He's like, "I've been looking at your dumb face every day for 2 weeks while I make this stupid zebra dance around behind you." And I was like, yeah, that's why this is fun for me.
I'm trying to connect this back to that guy and his questions, but I guess what's best for me, so I don't just keep on being angry at this guy who I feel like is virtue signaling, is that I will follow the thread. No, virtue signaling? No? Wait, what do I got wrong with virtue signaling?
I don't think anonymously asking a question about if a feeling you're having is going to pass is virtue signaling, because no one knows it's you. The point of virtue signaling is that, like, I posted, I had a post on Threads do numbers, so I was getting a lot of new followers. So I absolutely virtue signaled. I was like, "Oh, hey, just so you guys know, I think Republicans are dorks and trans people are cool." That is virtue signaling. I want the people who are now following me to know where I stand on things, because if that's going to scare you off, please be scared off. Please don't follow me. If it works, if me being like, "Republicans are dorks," and be like, "Well, I don't think they're dorks," well, then go away.
I guess I was meaning it for him of being like, "Oh, I'm such a good comedian, but now this kid has taken it away from me."
I think if this wasn't anonymous, I think I might be more on board with that read of it. But again, I don't think that's what this is at all.
Here's what I'll say. I say it only works for getting the people on, like, being like, "Oh, yeah, oh," because it is anonymous. I think if it wasn't, there would have to be a level that people wouldn't just immediately get shitty.
I don't know. And I've not read all the replies, but they seem more or less positive. Everyone's like,
I'm saying, if he put his name out there, and like it's whatever name, and then I could Google it and be like, "Who are you?" I don't see any festival performance, or the festival was Butthole Hospital Comedy Festival.
You love Butthole
and
Hospital.
It's a hospital for buttholes. Very specific. Or like we'd look and be like, "What shows do? You do bar shows, or you do," or it's you. Like it's someone on the level of you and I who's positing this question. Like, we'd be able to look it up if the person put their name there. I feel like they purposely didn't, and then bragged a little bit about how awesome they were before this fucking curse came of a child, the cursed child that kept them from being able to be their full potential. If I can't do it at my full potential, then maybe I shouldn't. And I should go live on the farm with all of those dogs. I went up to that farm in New York City that didn't die.
I was just looking at some of all the responses are pretty positive, except for you, because you're a monster. But it is all like, yeah, the general takeaway.
You never know how I'm gonna fall.
I know.
What side of the?
The general takeaway is like, yeah, man, take time off. It's fine. Which is, I mean, since that's what I said, I think it's correct. But I do agree with you that if he decides, he's like, I think I'm going to hang it up. Okay, that's fine too.
Oh yeah,
more arena spots for the rest of us, you know.
Arena spots. I did witness this because you said someone saw the Nate Bargatze primetime special.
Yeah.
And the people were just like, "That's not funny."
I meant to
and
track it down and look it up. I haven't.
I went to a hockey game with two of my close friends that I've been friends with since I was like 5.
Wayne Gretzky and Gordie Howe.
Yes. You're going to miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And
Maurice
this past
the
Saturday.
Rocket Richard.
And
I'm just going to say hockey names while you tell your story.
I was trying to think of what's the name of the brothers
Goldberg.
from Slapshot. Goldberg.
I'm out of real hockey names. I have to rely on Mighty Ducks characters.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I realized is I know nothing about
Julie
hockey.
the
Everything
Cat
I know about
Gaffney.
hockey were 90s. Oh, love me
Gordon
some Julie the
Bombay.
Cat Gaffney.
Yeah.
What's her name that was part of a Wet Hot American Summer? She's in Mighty Ducks. She has a French name.
Yeah,
Margaret?
she does.
Marguerite?
I forget, but I know exactly.
Margaretti? Margaro?
Yeah, keep making weird sounds.
But while we were there, there was a guy who during all downtimes, and it's Cyclones, so it's not NHL, it's not big time, it's minor leagues, and I don't know to what degree of minor leagues, but in between every bit of downtime, there was like a 50-year-old dude with Paul Stanley from Kiss hair, but without the makeup, like coal black curls, wearing a Cyclones jersey, going around and playing games with the audience. And
my nemesis
it
Ben
felt
Youngerman
like
does that for the Lehigh Valley Phantoms.
that I think is purgatory. If anything is, because you're doing the same thing all the time for really little to no enthused people. Oof. But one of the prizes they kept on giving people, they couldn't use there. It was coupons to a thing. It was a gift card to a thing. That like nothing. Like there was a gift card to Skyline Chili, and I was like, well, can you use it at the Skyline here? And they're like, no, you have to use it at a outside Skyline. I'm like, ugh. Like I hate all this. And the one thing that the one prize he did give, man. I know. I don't know why. One prize they did give.
Can I use
wasn't
this
good
right
enough
now?
for me.
Can I have spaghetti chili immediately? No, you do it tomorrow.
It was a hockey helmet, plastic helmet with nachos.
Full of spaghetti
and
chili.
And so the person who won got the nachos if they won the trivia thing, their game they're playing.
Okay, but you have to eat it the next day.
Well, my one friend's like, there you go. Finally, they're getting him a gift he can use now, or a prize he can use now. And I'm like, ew. Like, I don't want, this guy's just been holding this open. Like, when did they make it? Like, this open container of nachos. And now he's like, hey, buddy, give me something prepackaged. So I had issues with that, too. But this is all leading to a family won a pair of tickets to see Nate Bargatze the next night. And the dude who won it was there with like 4 kids that were definitely his. And it was the next night. And I'm like, you're going to give tickets? They're at an event now. Yeah. This guy with 4 kids is going to be able to swing going out on a Sunday night the next night with whoever and go and see Nate Bargatze.
One of the first stand-up competitions I won was at the Allentown Fair. And one of the prizes was tickets to see Jeff Dunham 2 hours after they gave me the tickets. It was the same. And it's like, well, I gave them to my friend's kid. I've never given away a prize faster than fucking Jeff Dunham tickets.
You didn't even win it yet. And you're like, it kind of makes me want to not give it my all to win.
They're like, hey, we got Jeff. I'm like, I actually don't even want to touch those. Can you just give these to this small child? He's dumb enough to enjoy that.
But it's the Coliseum, the Heritage Bank Arena. It's famously, where the Who concert happened and people got stampeded to death.
No, why would I know that?
Oh, that's like a nationwide thing. It's like, it's pretty well known. But anyway, the arena where we're at seeing the Cyclones game, that's it, where Nate Bargatze is going to be the next night. At the end of the hockey game, so dude wins the tickets, and I'm just like, You ain't gonna be able to use those. Barely was able to make it with his 4 kids here. Or by state law, him and his wife aren't allowed to go and do anything alone because clearly they are uncontrollable and they keep on popping out kids. But we're leaving, and a woman in front of me, older woman, maybe in her late 40s, is discussing.
So gross and old.
Only like 8 years older than me, is discussing the prize of the Nate Bargatze tickets.
Yeah.
And she's talking to like her son. She's like, who's going to be here tomorrow night? An opera singer? Nate Bargatze?
Yep. Famous opera singer Nate Bargatze.
And the son's like, no, I think he's a comedian. And she's like, is he funny? And the guy goes, I guess funny enough to come to this arena on a Sunday and people will show up. And I was like, that is kind of the qualifier.
Yeah.
Like, are they funny enough to play an arena on a Sunday? And it makes sense that they're doing an arena in Cincinnati? Yeah, I guess so. Funny enough. Successful enough.
I think he is both those things. He is funny and successful.
I think we should have called the podcast that Successful Enough.
Successful enough. I mean, it would be inaccurate, but
because I'm not successful enough.
Very much.
I have qualms with.
Yeah. I think I'm artistically fulfilled enough, but would like more money, please.
Yes. All right. I think we got to wrap it up. Anything before we say goodnight to the people?
No, but be nice. Be nice to that guy. I'm trying to think if I have anything coming up worth plugging. This comes out on Friday. I will be on a plane to Minnesota at the end of January because I make bad choices. But
yeah, I'm doing that same thing in March, I think. So
yeah, that's a
right
different month than January. It is not.
Well, it's still with the winter and whatnot.
I've been keeping an eye. Oh, excuse me. We do this at 9 a.m.
What about that? Did you re-look at that one Booker's email that we both get when they up the budget to that Canada show? Did you look to see the logistics of if that would be worth it, like I did?
I did, but I did the first time. But I have to get back to.
I forgot
to teach this stand-up class.
Also, did you see the closest flight was Vancouver, and it would still be 6 hours to drive from there to Mara?
That is,
and I was like, no, it's going to take 7 hours, 7.5 hours to fly to Vancouver and then drive 6 hours.
I had a company reach out in pretty northern Canada, like the top limit of where people are. And
the North Pole.
They were asking, like, they offered anywhere in the United States would be considered a decent amount of money to get me to go. But I looked and it's like, nah, man, this is like a week-long adventure to get to you. There's no way. And he's like, well, we could probably see if we could get like one of the local pilots to come pick you up. And I was like,
no,
I'm on board. That I would rather
not
do.
Me.
Because I talk about not liking to fly, but one of my best friends is a pilot. And when we were in high school, we would just go up in like a 2-seater Cessna that he like owned as part of a club where it's like, I have a 1/32nd share of an airplane. Do you want to go fly around with a lawnmower engine? I was like, hell yeah, man. No. I'll do that all day. But I'm dreading going to Newark Airport on Friday.
Those are the stories you hear. You don't hear about big airlines really going down anymore. It's like local man dies with.
See, I'm not worried about going down. I'm worried about being late.
Yeah, I don't like being late either. That's why I like being in the day before. Yeah, I
have to fly day of the show because that guy with the email that we both get, and I'm At least, honestly, when stuff like that happens, it's like, okay, I'm not going into this being like, well, I'm gonna have a bad show. If I do, I'd be like, I'm not the one who booked this flight. You know, I didn't put one of the most anxious people in the world on an airplane the day he has to then drive 2 hours to tell jokes at a bank.
When we complain, again, not that this matters
because
to
we're
anybody,
bad people who
but
don't appreciate all the people who
it's the same
our lives possible.
This is workplace complaints.
Yeah.
These are job complaints that you do, that you have your little scuttle button around like in the office, and you're just like, we hate everything. We love so much more about it. And maybe one of these days an episode will be about the love. Probably not, because it's way more fun to be crotchety.
Well, it's the thing. Another thing I tell younger comics is like, if you're working with like a bigger comic, or you're opening for somebody and you're in the green room, talking to them about a bad show you did is going to go much further than trying to tell them how hard you crushed at like a local bar. Like, they don't care.
Oh,
but they will relate.
Like,
I was doing this show for a bunch of firefighters, and they just played a video of car crashes set to Smash Mouth, and they're like, yeah, well, that's an interesting. I love hearing that from people. I will talk about bad shows with
even on our level. We're nobody that's like when I was opening up and like doing like a weekend with Kevin Nealon, and Kevin Nealon was just like, because I was always told like, don't talk until they talk to you, which I think is valid.
I always thought, I'm like, just be mindful of how much you are talking.
Yes. But he was talking to me because I'm always like, hey, is there anything I can get you? My name's Ricky. I'm going to be your MC or feature for the weekend. And usually is like, no, or like, where's the bathroom, or blah, blah, blah. Or where's the best place for this? Da, da, da.
Where do I find
real short?
cocaine?
Where do I find the hookers? And we were talking, and Nealon was just like, yeah, I was just at Steve's this past weekend, and I'm reading the latest draft of his biography, because it's before Born Standing Up came out.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, Steve who? And he's like, Martin. And I was like, oh, Steve Martin. You were just at Steve Martin's house reading his the book that everyone is really on the edge of their seats ready to read, because it's something he doesn't talk about. You were reading, okay. But here's the thing is, Kevin Nealon, like, I've been in that situation where the comedians are bragging or whatever. Working with Kevin Nealon a few times, the sense I get is it wasn't like him whipping out his big old hog, like, and being like, slam, I see Steve Martin. He was just talking like he would to anybody.
Yeah.
But I have 100% have had that where an opener, an MC who I don't know from Adam, green room or whatever closet they put us in before the show, that I've just met you. And they are like, oh, let me tell you about this crowd that I just made.
Yeah.
Key themselves and blah, blah, blah. I destroyed. And this is why you should book me more. And then they go up there
and
they eat a bag of dicks for 7 minutes because they can't even contractually do their 12 minutes or whatever.
The amount of time they're supposed to.
Yeah. And they just later, they're just like, what are you doing? You want to go hang out or whatever? Like, I think I need to talk about that show and figure it out. I'm like, no.
I'm not going to hold your hand through this, little shaver. You got to work on this one on your own.
No, you make people pee themselves.
I'm
That's
about
what you
to,
do.
so we're going to end this episode.
All right. I'm Ricky Glore.
I'm Glenn Tickle.
It's the Daddio Show.